Anyone who knows me knows that I love Batman. And so I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to get right to this. Cosmicbook.news. The Batman Part 2 set to film in spring. James Gunn working on DCU Super Family. I'm excited to see what the Batman Part 2 brings. There was a lot of speculation about why it wasn't coming. There was some speculation that James Gunn was kind of, maybe not on purpose, but sabotaging Batman. And from looking at this article, it may be that there was an expectation of a certain level coming out of the script, and maybe he was holding it back, or maybe Matt Reeves really wasn't done and was, perfecting his craft. Let's read the article. Warner Bros. Discovery has officially confirmed that the Batman Part 2 will begin filming in spring of 2026, aiming for an October 1st, 2027 release. The news comes via the company's second quarter shareholder letter, read below, which also highlights the next wave of projects from DC Studios co-head James Gunn. The Batman 2 set shoot window. After years of delays, the Batman Part 2 is finally moving forward. Matt Reeves completed the script in June, and the sequel has entered pre-production. Robert Pattinson is back as Gotham's Dark Knight, and Colin Farrell will reprise his role as the Penguin, connecting directly to the HBO Max spin-off series. Originally set for 2025, the film was delayed due to development timelines. James Gunn previously defended the gap, calling multi-year sequel delays fairly common and praised Reeves' careful approach. I'll have to go back in my mental Rolodex and maybe do some research and do some checks to see if, so much space between sequels is common. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I believe we live in somewhat of a microwave society. We expect to have everything, and we expect to have it like right now. We don't want to wait at all. And look, good things come to those who wait. Sometimes the best things do not come quickly. And this is one of those things where it may have been, maybe not intentional, but it may work out on their behalf for there to be so much space between that first movie and this one. And here's one of the reasons I say that. I know a lot of people criticize the Batman. I had my criticisms going into the movie. I didn't know if Pattinson was going to do a good job. I think what they were going for and the script he had and his acting ability, I think he did a good job. I think he conveyed the exact emotion they wanted conveyed in the movie. Some people call him emo Batman, and I get it. But I think this worked. And I think there's people who got a chance to sit with the movie now for a couple of years and maybe watch it again, revisit it, and maybe acquaint themselves with some of the work this movie was based on. And then you go back and you revisit the movie and think to yourself, oh, well, this may be a lot better than I thought it was, because now I have some context. Let's see. Gunn expanding the super family. The letter confirms that Gunn is busy preparing the next installment of DC Super Family, which includes Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, 2026, Clayface, 2026, and a new Wonder Woman film. Now, who they get to play Wonder Woman is probably going to be a point of contention. I don't mind them picking up somebody else. I get it. It's a reboot, different director, different writers. Everything is changing. Their whole approach is different. I loved Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. That first Wonder Woman movie will probably, in my humble opinion, go down as one of the best Wonder Woman films of all time. In my opinion, maybe you disagree, but that movie was done great. Doesn't mean because James Gunn is taking a different approach, it won't be great. And I'll tell you this, there was a misconception early on that in order for the DC extended universe, the DC cinematic universe, in order for it to succeed, that they had to follow the Marvel model. I think people have since realized, no, it's actually, what Marvel did is fine, but it's actually quite okay for James Gunn and Warner Brothers, DC, to go their own way, forge their own path, and do their own thing. I like the fact that when the Superman movie started, you kind of jumped into some things without explanation. I don't mind that. I know some people have a problem with that. Look, you have so much geek content out there. You have channels like Comics Explained. If you don't know something about a comic book, if there's a comic book run you're not familiar with, if there's a movie, TV show, cartoon based on a comic run and you know nothing about it, go to Comics Explained, search his channel for whatever topic or whatever hero. You're welcome. That dude does a ton of videos. He might not have the video you want, but it's a high probability he does. There's other channels like Comic Drake, and there's other channels. I mean, you could go on and on. There's a lot of channels that do in-depth comic book breakdowns to where I don't think there's really a necessity to explain everything. I don't think there ever was. 'Cause when you think about what the medium of cinema is, really and truly, it is a way to get you interested in comic books if you're not already. This, in my opinion, this should be the approach that a lot of these studios take. Anyway, which has been said to be fast-tracked. Gunn is also preparing to write another yet unnamed project in the same universe. Interesting. DC's last film, Superman, earned $560 million worldwide so far and had the strongest opening for a solo Superman film ever, bringing in $220 million globally in its first weekend. Warner Bros. Called it the studio's best Superman film since the best opening since 2022, and credited Gunn and Peter Safran for bringing a unified creative vision to the franchise. Now, some people may disagree. You know, people have their opinions about, adjusted for inflation and stuff like that. I won't get into the weeds with that. But I'll say, I think Superman, as a matter of fact, let me look at Box Office Mojo right now, because I wonder if, since writing this article, I don't know when, it says the 7th, but sometimes, our articles can be written at any time and then published at a different time, so you never really know. So let me find Superman and see, make sure. I think this number is right. Yeah, 562 million. 562.7 million thus far. So yeah, it's doing. I think if there's an expectation that movies are going to reach that $1 billion mark, I don't know if the fervor is there like it once was. And I don't know in general if DC and or Marvel has that initial momentum they had in the early 2000s. Now, they may get back to that, but we're at a different time right now. So I don't think there's any of these movies I really expect to hit the $1 billion mark. And if one of them does, man, great for them. But I don't think that necessarily even means that it's a bad movie. DC's strategy spans film, TV, and more. The shareholder letter emphasized DC Studios as one of the most valuable assets in entertainment and noted the franchise has never been managed in a more cohesive, collaborative, and strategic way. Upcoming projects including a new season of Peacemaker, Lantern series set to debut in 2026. I might have to get with my cousin and see what he thinks about this. Lantern is his guy. That's his hero. And he knows way more about the Lanterns core and all of that than I do. So I might have to get, his take and see what he thinks about all of this. 10-year plan for DC will continue to expand across film and TV to consumer products, games, experiences, and social, according to WB CEO David Zaslav. Here is what the shareholder letter says about the DC Universe. DC Studios. Superman marked the beginning of a new era of DC Studios, extending our strong creative momentum into the third quarter. Superman generated $220 million globally in its opening weekend, the strongest ever debut for a solo Superman film and strongest DC Studios global opening since 2022. DC Studios' universe of characters represents not only one of Warner Brothers Discovery's most valuable pieces of intellectual property, but one of the most valuable assets in entertainment. In its long history, the DC Universe has never been managed in a more cohesive, collaborative, and strategic way. James Gunn and Peter Safran bring unified creativity vision to this beloved collection of storylines, and initial progress has heightened our long-term optimism. And it may be good. This optimism may be warranted. We shall see. We shall see. There's no telling of where this will go or what will happen. In film, James Gunn is busy preparing the next installments in the DC superfamily, including Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow 2026, Clayface 2026, the next Wonder Woman. In addition, the Batman 2 2027 is preparing to begin shooting next spring. Among several other projects in development, the 10-year vision for the DC Universe also includes an exciting array of television projects, including The Penguin, which recently garnered 24 Emmy nominations and was watched by nearly 20 million HBO Max subscribers, an upcoming new season of Peacemaker, and the debut of Lanterns in 2026. In a precise and measured way, the DC franchise will increasingly overlay across the studio's broader efforts, from film and TV to consumer products, games, experiences, and social. You know what would be dope? And I don't know that they would do this. I know there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of people requesting this. If they use Grant Gustin, is that how you say his name? Grant Gustin, the guy who played the Flash on the CW, which I like the first couple seasons. It kind of, got a little, it wasn't as good in the later seasons, but those first couple seasons were great. And I think Grant Gustin will be the character that DC, that unsung hero character that DC needs everybody to love to kind of bring everybody in. I think Grant Gustin can be that face. I really think he can on the big screen. They probably won't do that. They'll probably go another direction, which I understand, but that's something we could only hope for, that DC would do something like that. But they're going their own way, forging their own path. It seems like they're on a right track thus far. We'll see how this goes.